I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen. I'm sorry. Save it. Those tears are 6 months late. The text that blew up my marriage arrived on a Tuesday at 2:47 p.m. while I was putting smart thermostats into Mrs. Langley's guest room. Lauren's tablet buzzed on the kitchen counter. I glanced over, habit more than curiosity. The preview was enough to punch a hole through my chest. Can't wait to feel you again while that pathetic husband is crawling through someone else's ceiling. I stood there with a Phillips head in my hand, staring until the words burned into my eyes. The sender was Evan Pierce, the real estate agent who had hired me 6 months earlier to automate his condo. The same Evan who shook my hand, praised my wiring, and apparently spent that time with my wife. My name is Mark Bennett, and I fix things for a living. Burst pipes, tripped breakers, sagging joists. I make broken things right. But as I watched more messages stack up on Lauren's screen, I understood there are things you do not fix. You remove them. More messages arrived. Details of what they did in our bed. Jokes about how I was too busy with tools to notice what was happening in my own house. Worst part was Lauren's replies, just as crude and just as cruel. She called me oblivious, dull, lucky to have her. I set the screwdriver down and walked back to Mrs. Langley's room like nothing was wrong. I finished the install with steady hands while everything I knew collapsed around me. 23 years of marriage turned into the punchline of someone else's dirty joke. That evening, Lauren cooked dinner, like every Tuesday. Spaghetti and meatballs, supposedly my favorite. She smiled with those perfect veneers she'd gotten last year, using our joint account. "How was your day, honey?" she asked, still stirring sauce. "Fine," I said. "Just fine." I watched her move through the kitchen I had remodeled. Custom cabinets, stone counters, every detail because she wanted magazine perfect. She looked beautiful as always, blonde hair tied back, the cobalt dress I bought for our anniversary. She had no idea I knew. Her tablet had done the talking, and I decided not to. Not yet. When she slept, I went to the basement workshop. I'd been quietly turning it into a smart home command center, installing cameras and automation everywhere. A hobby was about to become a weapon. I opened live feeds on my laptop. Kitchen, living room, front, back, all recording with motion detection to cloud storage. I'd added them right after Evan's project, claiming we needed better protection. Lauren rolled her eyes but didn't argue. Clever woman. Not clever enough. I spent 3 days acting normal while I prepared. Made coffee, kissed her cheek, went to jobs, came home for dinner. Every spare minute I upgraded the system, placed more cameras, tightened the net. On Friday, the living room sensor triggered at 1:23 p.m. while I was booked across town. I watched the footage later. There they were on our couch, acting like teenagers. She wore the red lingerie I'd bought for Valentine's Day. I watched it all in HD and felt something cold, not rage exactly, settle in my chest. Calculation. I duplicated the clip across 3 secure servers and an encrypted drive, then opened a new notebook and started lists. Evan's schedule, clients, weak points, his car, a black C-Class he'd love to brag about. By Sunday night, I had a plan. First phase, information. I needed everything about Evan Pierce business patterns, other women, vulnerabilities. I'd already been in his condo for 2 weeks of installs. I'd seen his office, his files, his habits. He'd asked me to mount a bedroom camera tied to his system. I tuned it to send a mirror feed to my server. Trusting man. Monday morning, I called off a job and drove to Nora's Diner on Maple. I knew he met clients there on Mondays at 10. I heard it during his condo project. I took a corner booth, sipped coffee, watched him glide and grin. He didn't know he was a lab rat. At 11:30 he left and walked to his Mercedes. He checked his phone, frowned, tried to start the car. Nothing. He tried again. Nothing. He popped the hood, poked at it, then called it tow. He didn't know I'd cloned his key fob during the condo job and used it to interrupt his battery connection. A simple trick if you know your way around signals. I followed the tow to Carter's Auto on Larchmont. While Evan argued with the mechanic about a ghost electrical fault, I slid behind the shop and fixed a GPS tracker to the rear frame. Magnetic mount. Long battery. Bought online for home security. Phase 2. Pressure. I wanted him jumpy. Over the next week, I made his life glitch in small ways. His coffee order kept arriving wrong. His dry cleaning went missing for 2 days. His gym account mysteriously failed. His favorite downtown space always had a car in it. Watching his condo camera, I saw the suspicion creep in. He started looking over his shoulder, checking his phone, twitching at shadows. Good. Lauren grew bolder at home. Midday errands, hair mussed, another man's cologne hanging on her blouse. She'd come back humming, head in the clouds. I played the devoted husband, made her favorite meals, listened to her day, told her I loved her. Then each night I reviewed footage and updated the file. They met at a cheap motel off Highway 41 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They'd used our house 12 times. He used our shower. He ate our food. The audacity took my breath away. The audio was worse. I captured them laughing in our living room about how I would never catch on. He joked that I was installing systems that helped them. He's so trusting, Lauren said. Contempt sharpening every word. Sometimes I think he's proud of how naive he is. I sat up that night until 3, adding pieces to the plan. They thought I was a fool. They were about to learn how sharp a contractor can be. I started with Evan's business. Real estate runs on reputation, and his was about to crack. I still had a back door into his computer. His files were sloppy. I found what I needed on a Wednesday. Retouched property photos. He'd been digitally hiding damage, stretching rooms, adding features that didn't exist. Fraud. I documented everything. Screenshots. File copies. I sent the package anonymously to the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation, the Better Business Bureau, and 3 local news stations using a burner account over a VPN. Within 48 hours, his phone wouldn't stop. Angry clients, investigators, reporters. His license was suspended pending review. His brokerage cut him loose. His name turned sour in Chicago property circles. Through his living room camera, I watched him pace, calling lawyers and PR. He had no idea where the leak came from. He thought it was bad luck or a rival. If only he knew. But I wasn't finished. While his career fell apart, I turned to his personal life. He was a serial cheater, juggling married women who each thought they were unique. I created simple social profiles and opened a private group chat, sending each of them the same line. We need to talk about Evan Pierce. Then I watched. The chat exploded. Screenshots, gifts, stories of lies. Fury turned into coordination. One woman, a divorce attorney named Dana, posted his photo in a Chicago cheaters group with a breakdown of his patterns. Another, a marketing lead named Kelsey, used her network to spread warnings across business circles. The masterstroke came from Jess, a nurse at St. Mary's who had keys to his condo. She wallpapered his bedroom with printouts of his messages to other women. I watched him step into the room and read his own words, covering walls and closet and door. He sat on the bed and cried. Satisfaction arrived, but it was thin. This wasn't about him anymore. This was about Lauren and the 23 years she tossed for a handful of afternoons. Phase 3. Confrontation. On my terms. I rented a storage unit and began moving half of our belongings, documents, photo albums, tools, anything valuable slowly over 2 weeks. Then I hired a lawyer, not to file yet, but to protect what I could and map my options. I showed her the evidence and asked for a settlement proposal that would leave Lauren with as little as the law allowed. This is strong material, Patricia Keene said, scrolling through the files. She will not have leverage. Good, I said. I want consequences clear. She peered over her glasses. Are you sure you don't want counseling first? Sometimes there is a path through. I thought about Lauren's laugh in my living room, the contempt in her voice. No. Some structures are too rotten to save. You tear them down and rebuild. Papers would be ready by Friday, she said. I had a different first step in mind. Thursday morning, I called Evan with a voice modulator. You like other men's wives, I said. Time to pay. Who is this? He asked, voice shaking. Someone who knows your business, your women, your secrets. Meet me at the Lakeside Marriott tonight, room 512. Come alone, or your clients get an interesting video. I hung up. That afternoon, I called Lauren at the gallery. Hey, I said. Warm. I booked us a room at the Lakeside Marriott. Like old times. Tonight. Oh, she said, flustered. Tonight. I have errands. Cancel them, I said. When was our last real date night? She paused, mind racing to figure out how to warn him. Okay. What time? Meet me at 8, room 512. I rented the room with cash and a fake name and set up equipment. Hidden cameras, audio recorders, a small speaker tied to my phone. At 7:30, I waited in the lobby where I could watch the elevators. Evan arrived first at 7:45, nervous, checking his phone, cheap suit, briefcase in hand. Lauren arrived at 8 in the black dress from last year's anniversary, beautiful and guilty, checking her reflection before stepping in. I gave them 10 minutes, then went up. Voices inside, confusion, recognition. I slid the keycard. They sat on opposite sides of the bed, shocked. Evan's briefcase lay open, papers scattered. Lauren clutched her purse like a shield. Hello, darling, I said to her, then to him. Hello, partner. Evan lurched to his feet. I don't know what you think this sit down, I said quietly. He sat. I locked the deadbolt and pulled up a chair. The room hummed with air conditioning and distant traffic. How long have you two been cheating in my house? Lauren gasped. Mark, I can explain. 7 months, I said, checking my phone like notes. 7 months of lies and sneaking and making me look like a fool. Evan found his voice. I didn't know she was married at first. I held up a photo of them kissing in our driveway 6 months ago. You hired me to secure your condo. You knew exactly who I was. I have videos, I said evenly. Hours from cameras I installed. You two on my couch, in my bed, in my kitchen. Audio of you laughing about how stupid I am. Screenshots of messages. I stood at the window and looked over the lake. Funny thing, Evan. I respected you. Thought you were competent. Someone to learn from. And Lauren, I thought you were my life. Mark, please, Lauren said, tears streaking her makeup. It wasn't supposed to be this. I never meant to hurt you. But you did, I said. You broke our trust, our future. You made me a joke in my own home. Evan stood, trying to salvage pride. Emotions run high. Maybe we can find a... I connected my phone to the speaker and played a living room recording. Lauren's voice filled the room. Sometimes I think about leaving him, but then I remember how much money he makes. He's boring, but he pays for everything. House, cars, cards. I'd be stupid to give that up. Evan's voice. You could take half in divorce. California is community property. We're in Illinois. Genius. Lauren's voice. But sure, I could get a decent cut if I play neglected wife. I stopped the audio. Tears ran. Evan stared at the carpet. Consequences, I said, sitting again. I laid out what I knew. Evan's fraud, the other affairs, the debts, Lauren's lies, the credit cards, the plan to leave for money. Here's what will happen. Evan, you disappear. Change your number. Move if you must. Never contact my wife again. Do it, or every agency in the city gets an evidence package. He nodded fast. Fine, I can do that. Lauren, I said, you will pack a bag and leave our house tonight. Stay with your mother or your sister. We'll handle terms through lawyers. Mark, wait, she said, reaching for my hand. Can't we talk? Counseling. We can fix this. I pulled back. Some structures cannot be repaired. They have to be replaced. I stood and moved to the door. You have 15 minutes to decide your next moves. Then I'm gone, and you are both on your own. I paused with my hand on the knob. One more thing, Evan. I wouldn't drive that Mercedes for a while. I hear electrical gremlins are going around. I left them staring at each other across the wreckage. At home, I poured a whiskey and watched the feeds. Empty rooms, quiet. For the first time in months, it was just me. It felt less like victory and more like a eulogy. The next morning, Patricia called. Her attorney wants to meet, she said. Emotional distress, harassment. She wants a settlement, half of everything plus support. She's saying you stalked her, that surveillance was illegal. I laughed. Cameras in my own home, installed with her knowledge. I documented adultery. That's the line I'm taking. It could get messy, Patricia said. Are you ready for a fight? I thought about 7 months of mockery. I've been ready. The divorce took 6 months. Lauren hired a bulldog who tried to paint me controlling and obsessive, the reason she strayed. They claimed I was unstable, violated privacy, a threat. I had proof. Video, audio, statements, records. Patricia presented it calmly, point by point. The judge was not impressed with Lauren's story. Mrs. Bennett, he said at the final hearing, you admit to a 7-month affair in the marital home, using marital funds, and planning to divorce for financial gain. Your harassment claims read like deflection. In the end, Lauren got the minimum under Illinois law, a small settlement, no alimony, and an order barring her from contacting me directly. She lost the house, the cars, most savings. She paid her own fees. Evan left town. Last I heard, he sold insurance in Milwaukee and drove an old sedan. His real estate career here was done. I kept the house, my business, my tools, and my self-respect. I kept the footage on encrypted drives in a safe deposit box, insurance against future trouble. Revenge, I learned, is a cold meal that never fills you. 6 months after the decree, I was wiring a smart system for a client in Westfield when an unknown number rang. Against my better judgment, I answered. Mark, Lauren's voice, small. You can't contact me, I said. I know. I wanted to apologize, not like in court. For what, exactly? For all of it. The affair, the lies, how I treated you, how I threw away our marriage. I looked out the client's kitchen window at a calm yard. You had a choice, I said. You chose him over me and what we built. I know. It was the worst choice I've ever made. I ended the call. That night, I sat in my workshop, now back to its original purpose, and thought about choices. She made hers. Evan made his. I made mine. I chose to fight, to expose truth, to tear down and rebuild. I chose consequences over reconciliation. Some will call it cold. Some will call it cruel. I call it construction. You tear out rot and rebuild with solid lumber. A year later, I took a contract to secure a new development outside the city. The project manager was a woman named Emma. Smart, direct, recently divorced. Her ex had played games with their money. Trust is hard to rebuild once it's broken, she said, reviewing my proposal. Some things don't get rebuilt, I said. They get replaced. She smiled. You speak from experience. I do. We started as vendor and client. She needed a reliable security contractor. I needed clients who valued protecting what matters. Over time, we shared coffee breaks and stories about betrayal and recovery. Emma was nothing like Lauren. Straightforward where Lauren had been manipulative. Honest where Lauren had been deceptive. Independent where Lauren had been calculating. She had built her own construction firm after the divorce, determined not to let betrayal dictate the future. I could have spent years trying to destroy my ex, she said, while we marked camera placements. I chose to spend that energy building something new. Different approach, I said. I needed demolition before new framing. Did the demolition help? She asked. I thought about Lauren's call, Evan's ruined career, the months of precise strikes. It showed me what I could do. It did not heal what was broken. Revenge is like surgery, Emma said. Sometimes necessary, always scarring. By the time I finished the install, we had moved from courtesy to friendship. She appreciated my detail and problem solving. I appreciated her candor and grit. We've been together 8 months now. Not married, not rushing, just building something honest day by day. She knows about Lauren and Evan. She knows about the footage and the systematic teardown. She doesn't judge, and she doesn't celebrate. You did what you felt you had to do, she said. I'm glad you're not angry anymore. She's right. The anger is gone, replaced by something steadier. I learned I can be ruthless when I must. I can plan, execute, and dismantle when pushed. I also learned destruction is exhausting. Building is better. Building demands hope, a future orientation, belief that good can emerge from honest work. Emma and I are building. No rush, no forcing. Just foundation, brick by brick. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd chosen differently. Confronted Lauren immediately instead of planning. Tried counseling instead of surveillance. Chosen forgiveness instead of justice. I do not regret the road I took. They needed to face the truth and the weight of their choices. I needed to prove to myself I was not the gullible fool they pictured. The hotel room system has long been removed. The tracker on Evan's car was probably found and tossed. The encrypted drives sit in a bank box, relics from a past that no longer threatens the present. I still fix things. I still install security. But now I know the line between repair and replacement, between justice and revenge, between walls and homes. Last month, a potential client called. His wife had been cheating with his partner. He saw my work at Emma's site and wanted security at home. I need to know what's really happening, he said. I need proof. Before we wire, I said, decide what you will do with the proof. He frowned. What do you mean? Are you seeking truth or weapons? They are not the same, he thought. I want to know where I stand. Fair enough, I said. Once you know, you cannot unknow. Once you have proof, you choose what kind of person you will be with it. I set him up with a basic system, enough to give answers. I handed him Patricia's card and passed along Emma's philosophy of building instead of burning. 2 months later, he called to thank me. He confronted his wife, negotiated a fair split, and started to rebuild. No elaborate schemes, no scorched earth, just consequences and a fresh start. Different from my path, I told Emma over dinner. Different circumstances, she said. You did what you needed then. Now you are doing what you need now. Building instead of breaking. She was right. I am still Mark Bennett, contractor, fixer. But now I know the difference between patching rot and replacing studs, between vengeance and justice, between tearing down and raising new walls. Some things can be mended. Some must be replaced. The important things require new plans, honest materials, patient hands, and faith. The cameras at home still record. They now protect something worth protecting, built on truth, not secrets. I sleep better. I dream less about hotel hallways and audio files, and cruel laughter in empty rooms. I dream about blueprints and footings, and the solid heft of tools. Emma says I smile more, that the hard set in my eyes has softened. She says I look like a man who knows the difference between building barriers and building a home. She's right. This morning, we walked the frame of a small house, going up on a lot beside hers. It will be ours eventually. No rush, just the next step in what we are building. What kind of security? She asked, brushing a hand along the future living room frame. The usual, I said. Cameras, sensors, smart locks, nothing wild. Good, she said. I want safe without a fortress. No fortresses, I said. Just a home. We stepped back into the sunlight, and I thought about the difference between the house I shared with Lauren and the one taking shape now. Same skill set, same attention to detail. But this one rises from truth, shared choices, and hope, not fear. Some things cannot be fixed. Some must be built from scratch, stronger than before.